Welcome. I'm Meredith, and this is the Oasis Spiritual Empowerment Tarot, all about tarot, oracle, and empowering you. And today, I'd like to do a VR to Simon of Hermit's Cave for the hashtag AllAboutTarot2022. I think this is a great hashtag. I should tell you this is my third attempt at doing this because the first two were a bit too rambling and I couldn't even edit. I just trashed them. So I'm really gonna focus, and honestly at this point we're just going with whatever happens. So anyway, if you're not familiar with the hashtag, basically Simon posed 13 questions, and let's jump right in. So the first one was what was your first deck and how did you encounter it? So if you're new here, you may not be aware, but my first deck was the Aleister Crowley Thoth Tarot. This is it. So you can tell from the poor battered box, but it's held up. So I got this back in the 80s, and it's still, I mean, it's mangled, but it's doing its job. You know, it's protecting the cards, and that's the point. So I didn't go looking for tarot. I was studying Crowley. And in the course of studying Crowley, of course, I studied his deck. And I probably spent a good year in study before I ever bought the deck. So before I ever touched the deck. And for me, it was just part of magical work, spiritual work. It wasn't really for divination. That came later, and part of my studies. So over time, I did kind of naturally begin to, well, let's check this out for divination. So I started working just with myself, and very quickly began doing readings for other people. And at some point, I don't remember exactly when. I feel like maybe after about a year of reading for others with this deck, it suddenly felt wrong to use this deck for other people. So I stopped, and I went and purchased a very, standard RWS deck, and I decided, well, I'll just use this to read for other people, and I really, really did not like it. So I gave it to a friend of mine, and this is just a me weird thing, I don't know, but basically what I ended up doing was using that deck to read for him and for other people, and it just kind of became this thing. So friends of friends, if they wanted a reading with me, it was just sort of known they had to provide a deck for me to use because I wasn't going to use this one. So there are actually a fair number of people who bought decks and never used them themselves, at least as far as I know. They just kind of held on to them for when I would read for them. And that's kind of the way I operated for a long time. And it was decades before I bought another deck. I didn't feel the need for another deck. And I do think there was kind of part of me that maybe felt like this deck would be jealous or not like it. I don't know. But either way, that's just kind of the way it was. Now, of course, I am an extremist, so a few years back, I did start buying other decks, and now I have, I don't even know, over 200. But for a really long time, I didn't have any other decks. So, my latest deck, and how my tastes have changed. This deck I actually have an unboxing of it. If you want to see it, I'll link it. This is a fabulous deck. So this is Arcana 78 Tarot. Now, this isn't the latest one I've bought, but it's the latest one I've received. I counted the other day, I think I have 30 Kickstarters waiting to come, and then I might have backed like 2 more. But some are from like a year and a half ago, and I'm still waiting for them. But, and there are other decks that I purchased. Oh, you know what? We should probably, so you can really see the difference. So this deck is different for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's all different artists, so very different art styles, which I was pretty resistant to for a really long time. My initial impression of decks like this is that they were too disjointed, having so many different art styles. But and I still, it's not something that I seek out, but I mean, this is a wonderful deck, and it doesn't feel disjointed to me. And there are definitely some that are like this that do. So, but I have a few decks that incorporate different art styles, and I do enjoy them. But beyond that, you know, a lot of this can be kind of, it depends on the card, but oh, look at how beautiful that is. But like here, I mean, this is a little bit cutesy, and definitely, you know, a far cry from Thoth. But I don't mind it, and sometimes I quite enjoy it. And in fact, to show you maybe even a better example of how my tastes have changed. Now, this isn't a new deck. Oh, it's, you know, got it, I don't remember when. Months, maybe a year or so ago. But it's Playful Heart Tarot. Very, very cutesy. Very kind of cartoony. And definitely not a style I would have expected to like. And in fact, it took me, I've seen this deck so much. I watched so many walkthroughs over and over, because there was part of me that was really drawn to it. But my logical mind was like, you're never going to use that. That is not your thing. What are you thinking? But I love it. I really love it. So I think I've become a lot more open to whimsy and youthful and kind of cartoony decks. Yeah, I really enjoy variety, kind of with everything, but especially decks. And you know, at this point, because I do have so many decks now, one of the main things I look for is just something that is different. You know, even if it's something that I never thought would appeal to me. And in fact, I'm going to show you one other. This is the Oracle, but it's in reach, and it'll still, this is a more recent acquisition. So this is the Wandering Soul Oracle, and I have the Wandering Moon Tarot, and it's very minimalistic. And again, that's something that I never thought would appeal to me. I do like to immerse myself in the cards, and it's a lot, well, I thought it was a lot easier when there was a lot going on, right? It just naturally would suck me in. But I think it's partly due to my taste changing somewhat, but I think it's probably more, honestly, a credit to the creator in how powerfully these cards evoke feelings in me, and really, they just really ping all the right places. So, yeah, definitely when I first started to kind of branch out from Thoth, I definitely would say that I looked for not necessarily busy, but artwork that provided a lot more stuff, right? But that's absolutely changed, although I still love a lot of stuff. Okay. So now we have why tarot. So for this question, I think Simon was primarily looking for, why tarot as opposed to oracle or whatever else. Well, I use oracle too. Sometimes I use only oracle. Usually, if I'm only going to use something, it will be tarot, though. It just depends on my mood, like everything else. I mean, there are other things that I use for different purposes, but for tarot, all right. So if you don't know, I'm a hypnotist and a spiritual life coach. So I do use tarot for clients. Sometimes I do have, I might do like a house party and just do, your kind of standard tarot readings. Sometimes I might do an event, a 10-minute, 15-minute reading. But most of the time, when I read for clients, it's a bit more than that. So my preferred method of reading for most things is not really divination, not in the way that I think it's often done. Not always, but for example, if somebody comes to me and they say, my marriage is in trouble, I want to know what's going to happen, right? I could do a reading for that. But what is that really going to give them? If I do them a reading and I say, you know what, it's not going to work out. So what do they do with that knowledge? Is this going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy? Are they just going to be miserable in the days, weeks, months, even years until it dissolves? What is that going to do for them? So what I prefer to do, when someone contacts me for a reading like that, we spend a bit of time talking first. And, I want to dig down into really what's going on. What are you looking for? Do you want the marriage to end? Do you want to save it? Because that's important. It's important to establish that goal. Once we do that, then the way I read, you want to know how to get there, right? So if your goal is to save the marriage, what are things that you can do? What do you need to do within yourself? What do you need to do with your partner? What do you need to release? What do you need to increase? Everything I do is for the purpose of uplifting and empowering people. And this style of reading does that, right? It gives people actionable items that they can do to take control, because up until that point, there's been something that's been a little out of control. That's why people come to me, and again, everybody reads differently, and but so basically, tarot as a tool is wonderful in this regard, because it gives my clients a visual guide, helps them connect with that unconscious level. It helps them to to feel things maybe that up until that point they've been pushing down and trying to hide from. So I just find it to be a very powerful tool for that. In terms of my personal practice, I still use this deck for kind of magical, spiritual growth. And there are other tools that I use for those things too. So to me, it's not really an either or, but yeah, it's a fabulous tool. And I'm very kinesthetic. I love the way cards feel. I love the way they shuffle, the way they sound. I love I love the sound of the cards as I place them. Just that. Love that. Love the artwork. Yeah, I really enjoy using the cards. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Obviously. I am a hedonist at heart. But yeah, I just enjoy it. I enjoy everything about it. So yeah, and the funny thing is, see, here I go on a tangent, but I'm going to try to say quickly, because I think it's kind of interesting. So as a hypnotist, whenever I hypnotize someone, I go into trance too. I go first, right? Not quite as deeply, but I go into trance. And my daughter's so funny because she won't let me hypnotize her for anything. Doesn't want anything to do with it. And she complains because I use the voice. And she doesn't like it. She says it's creepy. Because that's the way my kid is. But it's not like a put on thing. What happens is over time, it just, when you go into trance, your voice changes. Anyway, it just does. Usually it gets a little slower, it gets a little deeper, but it changes. So when I started this channel, I tried to get my daughter to watch some videos and get her input, and she refused. And she said, "No, you're using the voice." And I said, "I'm not. This isn't about hypnosis, right? It's just about tarot." And she said, "You're using the voice." So I, watched videos, and I realized that she's right. And that also made me realize that what I've always done, way before I became a hypnotist, is I go into trance when I use tarot. Sometimes deeper than others, but I do. I just naturally do. It's not something I've ever tried to do. It just happens, and it often happens just from just that beginning, that shuffling the deck and just kind of just moving the cards. And you can really hear it when I do, if I do a pick a card reading or any kind of reading on the channel. But sometimes I'll just be flipping through a deck and it just starts to kind of suck me in. Yeah, just a little aside. And I even do it when, I do a workshop on intuitively reading tarot. And I did one a little while ago. And one of the people said, she said, "Your voice is just so relaxing." And, we were talking about it. And I realized, I'm like, I'm going into trance as I'm teaching the class. And bringing them too, because it's an energetic thing. But that's actually a really nice way to learn. So, anyway. Next is pet peeves. So, for pet peeves, I'm not really precious about cardstock. I enjoy all different types of cardstock. I think that it's more important that the cardstock suit the deck rather than all decks be one card stock. You know, I love the really thick and matte decks. I love the thinner, the glossy decks even. The only card stock that I really, really hate is the Urban Crow Tarot or Urban Crow Oracle. I don't know what it is about it. I don't like it. I'm not even going to pull it out. I don't like it. It doesn't feel right in my hands. So yeah, and the other one, there's another tarot that she did about the same time, and I can't stand that cardstock either. So, but other pet peeves. This is okay. So this is the Holy Light Tarot, and I did trim it and edge it. For some reason, there's just a lot of stuff shooting out of women's breasts. I don't like that. And it's not just this deck. I have at least one or two other decks that have this type of thing. I don't like it. I don't like it. Now, did it prevent me from buying the deck? No. Does it prevent me from using it? Absolutely not. I love this deck. It's a great deck. But I still don't like that. Yeah, I just don't like it. I also don't like that kind of very, very standard RWS 3 swords and a heart for the 3 of swords. Now, this one is a little bit different. It's a little better, but it's still not great as far as I'm concerned. Now this is from the Baroque Tarot, which is a super gorgeous deck, and it is absolutely RWS. So, I mean, with this deck, I'm expecting this, okay? But I have so many decks that are so unique in almost every other way, and then it's like they just sort of give up on this card. I don't know what it is. This one, at least, they kind of did a little bit more with it, and it's so pretty. But, and obviously, these are not deal breakers. This is just my personal pet peeve. I would just really like to see something more unique, you know, especially if the deck is unique. You know what I mean? The other card like that is the Eight of Wands. Again, I have so many decks that really kind of go their own way with all these other cards, and then they get to this card and they're like, let's just throw some sticks in the air. And I just would like to see something different. Now this card I do really like. I cannot stand that creepy baby in the standard RWS. So I like what they did with this. It's not really creepy. It's very pretty. Yeah. Don't like a pregnant empress. Really don't like that. I feel like there are so many better ways to bring to mind fertility and things like that. I just don't care for it. I just don't care for it. But again, it doesn't stop me from getting decks that have it, usually. It's just a pet peeve. Okay. So now... Oh, you know what? There's one more pet peeve. This is from the Medieval Europe Tarot, which I adore. Love the artwork. Not a fan of the grappling with the lion's mouth for strength. Just don't like it. Now that said, I mean, I love everything else about this card, and it again is not like a deal breaker. It doesn't prevent me from using the deck. I just would prefer something else. So, you know. Alright, favorite spread. Let's pull in another deck so you can kind of So this is Emma Poetica, by the way. I have an unboxing of this too. Fabulous deck. So I do have a spread that I created that I really enjoy, and I have a video for it. I will link it. But it's called like one spread to roll them all, and the premise is it's a spread you can use to answer any question. And I've used it in a variety of ways, and it always works really, really nicely. So I quite like that. Sometimes I'll use a Celtic cross, especially if I have like an older client who, sometimes there's an expectation to see that. Oftentimes I just sort of create spreads on the fly based on the question, based on what's going on. Most often I'm going to be using 9 cards. It's just the way I work. 9 is the magic number. They'll have different meanings though, depending on the question, depending on what's going on. Excuse me. Sometimes if I do just a shorter reading, sometimes people say, oh, I just want, a 3-card reading. That's fine. Sometimes it becomes more than that. So I start with this. I'm very goal oriented. So I probably shouldn't admit this, but time is less important to me overall. If I have other clients, I try to kind of pad appointment times just in case we need more time, because to me that's the main thing, is to help that person get to the goal. If they're just coming to be like, oh, this is fun, I want to do a 3-card reading, sure, this is where we go. Sometimes they might come and have a real issue and say, okay, I want a 3-card reading, and maybe there's a card I'm like, okay, we need to go a little further. We need to dig a little deeper, whatever it is. So I do that. I do what feels like it needs to be done, even if it's maybe more than they asked for or they're paying for, and that's okay. I mean, I don't charge them extra. You know what I mean? This is my choice to do this. But I want to kind of get where they want to be, overall. So, yeah, I mean, there are some, I do like the spread of the year, and I also have a spread for the quarters. So there are certain, but even then, sometimes I'll kind of just go off and go my own way with them. So I hate to keep saying it, but it's true. It just depends. I tend not to bother too much with other people's spreads. Occasionally if one catches my eye, like when I get a new deck, like the one that springs to mind is with the Heaven and Earth Tarot. There was a As Above, So Below spread, and I enjoyed that for a little while. I did use it, but I don't use it anymore. So it was, I like change. I like different things. So it was fun to use it, but it just, I don't know. I just do my own thing. That's really the way it is. Except for the one spread to roll them all. I do really like that. And I think that's a great spread to use if you don't know what other spread to do, or you're not really sure what's going on. Or if the person doesn't have a specific question. Okay. Preferred tarot system. So, I mean, I have to say Thoth. Now, that said though, the way I read is not necessarily dictated by the cards. Now that said, when I read with this deck especially, And other Thoth-based decks, I do tend to read primarily in a Thoth style. But if I have a deck like the Baroque Tarot, which is absolutely RWS, right? I mean, there's no doubt. Sometimes I will read it in, a pretty standard RWS style. Sometimes bit of Thoth will slide in. Sometimes I focus more on numerology. To me, these are all just different tools to access what I want. I am an intuitive reader. Now, when I say I'm an intuitive reader, that doesn't mean that I don't understand how to use the systems, that I don't know traditional meanings. I absolutely do. And in fact, when I do readings and they diverge a little bit from kind of standardly accepted meanings, I do bring that up to my clients or my friends or whomever, because partly because I like to educate, but also I just feel it's important. It's like that kind of full disclosure kind of thing. I might say, this this card usually means this thing, but right here, right now, I'm getting this other feeling. Now, usually it's not wildly off track from traditional meanings. I think most often it would just sort of be a less maybe considered, a less thought about meaning, but it's not going to be like the total opposite. I don't think so anyway. Nothing springs to mind. But here's the thing. When I look at the cards, sometimes, different things stand out at different times for different readings. So, in one reading, I may look at the Four of Swords, and I may look at it more as a, kind of stability, right? Or maybe that kind of stalling, that pausing too much, or maybe when I look at it like in this card, maybe the thing that I focus most on is that center sword. That center sword that's all lit up, right? Everything else is in shadow, but that one point, that main point. And when I do consider the suits, I consider all of these things, and they all kind of they just kind of flow in different ways and in different strengths, so that I think at least tangentially they're all going to have an effect and have an impact on how I'm seeing and feeling the cards. But sometimes one will hit more than others. So I guess my point is, even if I'm using like a Marseille deck, I may pull in an RWS style meaning or a Thoth meaning. It just really depends. And the way I read too, I tend to be very visual, and I'm very kinesthetic. So primarily, I think when I read, it's going to be a feeling that grabs me, right? Sometimes it's an image. There's certain things, there's flashes. once in a while, it'll be a sound that I hear, or even a scent. And it's kind of like, if you've ever heard like mediums kind of describe their process, a lot of times what they'll do is, whether it's their spirit guide or the spirits or what have you, they basically create this system, right? Where they say, it could depends on who you ask, but some of them will say that they purposely created the system and said, like, okay, when if you want to let me know about a celebration, show me a champagne glass or whatever, right? Sometimes they might just ask. They might say, when there's a birthday or an anniversary, what will you show me? And then they kind of wait to see what is shown, and that becomes that kind of shorthand for them to interpret messages. I think for me, it's a little bit similar with the tarot. There's certain feelings, there's certain scents that mean certain things. It's not something that I purposefully created. It just sort of happened over time. So I'm going to tell you that holds the most sway in how I read. When I first started reading for other people, there were times when I would do a reading and I would say, well, this is what's going to happen. And then I looked at the cards. I'm like, I don't know where that's coming from, but I know this is what's going to happen. And, through time, through experience, through growth, I understand better where these things come from. But those feelings, those flashes, those will always win out over traditional meanings, 100%. And in fact, whenever I thought that maybe, that seems weird, like I didn't understand what I was getting, and I was like, well, the cards say this. I'm feeling this, but I don't know why. It's weird. It's probably what the cards say. It was never what the cards said. It was always what I was feeling. So I've absolutely learned that that's what I need to pay attention to and focus on. All right. Tarot rituals. So for this, so I love rituals, and rituals are important, right? Even if you don't set out to create a ritual, we all have them. Whether it's wake up every day at 6:30, put X amount of milk and sugar in your coffee or tea, and you watch the news, or you sit outside, and these are rituals, and for tarot, when you're talking about rituals, or at least when I'm talking about rituals, it's, to me, the purpose is to elicit certain feelings, create that atmosphere to help really get me in that zone. So I don't do it all the time. If I want to do a reading for myself, I might just, sit on the bed and just shuffle, start laying cards out, right? That's how I'm reading for myself. Other times, if I'm feeling like, I want to be a little bit more kind of mystical and really have that experience for myself, I might light some candles, light some incense, do a variety of things. And I enjoy that, but I don't need it. And I think that's an important distinction. In terms of clients, I do try to talk to people in advance, so that if they have a certain expectation, if they have a certain desire for certain types of things, I'm happy to provide them. Sometimes I get clients in who are like, I don't want woo-woo stuff. I want to use the cards. Let's delve into the psychology of this thing. Let's do this and that. And that's great. And so for those clients, I'm not going to be lighting candles. I'm not going to be burning incense. I'm not going to be bringing out crystals. Then I have other clients who are very, very much into that, and they want that full experience, that deeper immersion. And I'm happy to do that. I am a Leo, and I like some drama. Not arguing drama, but flamboyant kind of. Love all that. Theatrics. So it really depends. Now, in terms of, a lot of times people talk about cleansing their decks and things. So I am an energy worker. And I have a strong energy. I just kind of do. It's not always a good thing. I can kind of steamroll over people without intending to. So I've become very aware of that and kind of watchful of myself, because I don't want to steamroll over people. But the point of that is that I have strong energy, and I've never felt like I needed to do anything specific to clean the energy from my cards. I just use them. I shuffle them. I move with them. I let my energy kind of pour over them. And that's all I need. I don't mind if people touch my deck. I don't care. Their energy is not stronger than mine. Now, look, that sounds really, really egotistical. It's just kind of the way it is. There are loads of people with really strong energy. But because in this example, we're talking about them touching my thing, right? So perhaps for certain things, their energy would linger, but this is mine, right? It's already infused with my energy. So I don't care who you are. I don't care what you are. It's not stronger than my energy on my stuff, right? Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like I'm going off track again. So yeah, rituals. I love rituals. I do rituals with purpose. I don't need them. I will say though that before I do any reading, whether it's for myself or for someone else, I make sure that I'm grounded, in a nice receptive state for my intuition. And I told you I naturally kind of go into trance, which is absolutely both of those things. So I guess that's the ritual that I do. All right. How do I use tarot? Well, I've already discussed that, I guess. You asked, to use it for introspection, divination. Yes, all of the above. Totally depends on the circumstance, depends on the person, depends on the goal. I will say, just because, I guess this is a pet peeve of mine. I feel like, look, everybody has their own philosophy, and their own belief system with regard to tarot and everything else in the world. And if it works for you, if it's right for you, then it's right for you. So this is just me kind of explaining mine. When I use tarot for divination, sometimes I hear people talk about it and they say, tarot is like controlling the fate or it's setting the fate. Well, first of all, it's not. It's not creating this thing, right? And they talk about like predetermination and free will, and part of me just doesn't understand that, because it's nothing to do with that as far as I'm concerned. So here's the thing. The way I see tarot when using it for divination, it's just a snapshot. It's a snapshot in time. So I may have gone over this in another video, but Imagine there's a boy standing in front of a pool with a hot dog in his hand, ready to take a bite. And you take a picture at that moment. Now, based on that picture, you could look at it and say, okay, the next thing that's going to happen, he's going to take a bite out of that hot dog. And you might be right. But what if the moment after you click that shutter, another boy runs up and pushes that kid into the pool? Hot dog goes flying in the mud, the kid's soaking wet in the pool. See, so it changed. And that's, I think, important to remember. The future is always changing, right? And so when you work in a divinatory way, it's only that snapshot. You know, that's another reason why I like using tarot as more of a tool to help kind of guide someone along their path, to help guide them toward that desired outcome. Because anything can happen, can change. And sometimes the reading itself can create that change. So for me, I want to create that change in the positive way, you know. But like I talked about before, if I do a reading and it's purely divination and somebody says, you know, is this thing going to happen? Based on the reading, it could alter what's going to happen. Maybe somebody's been working really hard toward this goal, right? They come in, they say, am I going to achieve the goal? So at that moment in time, they've been working so hard toward that goal. I might lay the cards and say, yes, you are going to achieve it. But then what if they go home and they're like, well, I'm going to achieve it so I can just relax now. It's changing things, isn't it? And that's the kind of thing that I kind of play with. My daughter has been in like 2 car accidents. One was pretty bad. Thank God she's okay. But here's the thing. The first time I knew she was going to be in a car accident. Like, I knew it with every fiber of my being. I knew. And I didn't know what to do. She wasn't home. And I thought, well, if I call her and say something, am I creating that thing? And I really wrestled with it. And finally, I was like, well, let's see what happens. And what happened was she got in a bad car accident. So I told her after the fact, and she said, oh my God, next time tell me and I won't drive. So I said, okay. So then the second time, again, I knew it was going to happen. And I did try to contact her, but I wasn't able to reach her, and she had another car accident. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm getting way off track. But the point is, I don't even know what the point is anymore. Oh, man. See, this is why I trashed the other 2 videos. All right. Yeah. So that's how I use it. Usually I don't use it for divination. For me personally, I don't really need to know what's going to happen in the future. You know what I mean? Sometimes I may use it sort of like that if I'm like, if I keep going down this path, right? Where is this leading me? I might kind of do it like that. But not so much, you know, in I guess some of the more standard or stereotypical ways. That's just not my, it's not my interest with tarot personally. All right. Significator card. And why do you feel it represents you? Okay. So, when I first started with tarot, I used Significator cards I don't anymore. I just don't. Part of that is because I'm just always changing. You know, there isn't one card that really does it for me. But I will tell you that up until maybe a year or two ago, maybe a couple of years ago, if you asked me, I would have said, where are these? It's always going to be the last card, right? Oh my goodness, it really is. Okay, here. So, Knight of Wands is definitely one that I would have picked. It's not the only one. According to Crowley, this is my card. This is not my card. Just saying. The other one would be the Knight of Swords. Occasionally, Queen of Swords. But primarily the Knights. Yeah. But more and more, I would tend to say the Queen of Cups. But it depends. Sometimes I still... it just depends. Now, Simon brought up, the Myers-Briggs kind of personality test to see your significator, which I thought was interesting. Now, I've done Myers-Briggs quite a few times in the past. It tends to change for me a lot. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I can't just have one. So after watching his video, I did it again. I'm like, well, let me see where I am now. And I was right on the border. Really on the border between INFP and INFJ, which INFP is the Page of Cups, INFJ, Queen of Cups. I personally feel like I'm more Queen of Cups. Just kind of where I am at this moment in time. But I think it's important to understand that always changes. So, yeah. Now for the most expensive tarot acquisition. So I had to go and kind of look through my receipts because I wasn't 100% sure. What I found is, I had some Kickstarters that were, a little bit pricey. Like I did Cosma Visions. No, that was an Oracle. And that ended up being $185. But I also got the big book, and I got the box, and I got the geomancy coins. So it wasn't just a deck, right? Tattered Wings Oracle. That's another Oracle. But it was $170, but it was 2 decks plus the expansion pack, right? So again, it was more than one deck. The Nameless One Tarot ended up being $185, but I also got the enormous grimoire, which is gorgeous. So again, it was more than just the deck. But I do have one that was actually more expensive than all the others, and that is the first edition El Goliath. So this ended up, because it came from Spain, so with the conversion and everything, it was $202, and I got free shipping. And it's, I had the second edition. Did I need this? Probably not, but I wanted it. And I just love this deck so much. and certainly the second edition, they're not small cards, but I love that these are even bigger. I just love being able to see more of the artwork. I love being able to read these better, even though honestly, with every deck, I don't put a lot of focus on any words that are there. I really focus on the image. But it's nice if I wanted to, I could read it better. The second edition can be a little hard to read in places. But yeah, I love this deck so much. I'm so happy to have this. I was happy to spend the money. And I think it was Lisa Pappas talked about, paying a lot for, out of print decks. And basically, the way she put it for herself, and, I try to consider this when I consider, spending more for a deck. She said, if I spend this money on this deck today and tomorrow they come out with a reprint or whatever and it's cheaper, would I regret buying it today? More or less the point of that. And for me, I absolutely would not regret it. And I can say that for all of the decks that I spent a little bit more because they were out of print or hard to get. For example, this one wasn't quite as much. This is the Botan Tarot, but it was still maybe around $150, $160 roughly. And as far as I'm concerned, it's worth every penny. This is just, I love this deck so much, like so much. And if tomorrow they released even the exact same version and we're selling it for $20, I would still not regret this purchase. Because I just absolutely love it. I would probably pick up the new one too. That way I'd have a backup. But yeah, I don't mind. I try not to go crazy. I'm not going to spend $500 on a deck. There are a couple decks that I would like to have, but they're just they're going for more than I'm willing to pay for them. Like I have the Jonasa Joust. I have the latest edition. I really love the third edition. I think it's the third with the flowers on the backs. I don't need it. I mean, I have, you know what I mean? And I think I've seen that generally maybe around $300. And I just can't justify that, right? Because I have the deck. And it's mostly for the backs. I'm just not paying $300 because I prefer those backs, But if I were, if I stumbled across it and I saw it for like 100, maybe even 150, I might be inclined to get it. It just depends. So, yeah. So, next question. Oh, unicorn deck or hard to find deck. So I just talked about the Jonasa Joust. It's not necessarily hard to find. I've seen it, but I just think that it's more than I want to spend on it. So I don't think that's really a unicorn deck. I just had another deck come to mind, and I can't think of what it was. There was another deck that you know what I would like, but it's not really a unicorn deck. I have the Spirit Keepers Tarot Revelation, And I would really love the Vitruvian. There's something about it. But, I mean, that's going for crazy money, and I absolutely can't justify it. I love Revelation. So I'm not. Now, the deck that I don't have that I would really like, this is not it, obviously, because I don't have it. But this is Brian Froud's, one of his fairy oracles. I don't remember the name, and I don't remember the name of the one that I don't have, but it's the one that I don't have, and it's out of print. And I think it's going for a lot of money. I don't know that I want it that much, that I want to spend, it's not like driving me crazy, like I have to have that deck. If it came up and it was available for probably around, I don't know, $100 to $150, I would do that without too much pause. Usually depends on my mood, like everything. But yeah, I'm not willing to pay like $300 for it. Two might be pushing it. It would kind of depend. So yeah, so I guess that's my kind of line in the sand, maybe. All right. The most important lesson tarot's taught me. That's a good question. It's taught me how to really focus my intuition. As I kind of talked about before, when I started reading, I would get flashes, didn't really understand it. It would just sort of come. But through time, through experience, through gaining more knowledge, I've learned to be able to focus it more. It's become a lot more purposeful in how I pull it. I think in some ways it's really helped me get more in tune with who I am and where I am. Yeah, and this is something that for me goes beyond just tarot, right? I use my intuition. I use what I've gained through tarot in everyday life, in all number of circumstances and situations. So yeah, that's it. That's my lesson. All right. Dinner party guests. So we got a guest of honor and two others. So it should not be a surprise. For the guest of honor, I would definitely want Aleister Crowley. Look, he may not have been the nicest guy in the world. Maybe he was. Maybe he was just completely maligned. I don't care. He was absolutely brilliant. And here's the thing. Love him or hate him, if you have anything to do with any kind of magical system, particularly Western, you've been touched by him. Whether you know it, whether you acknowledge it, you have. Your system has. Just a brilliant mind. And I think he would be absolutely fascinating. He may or may not be a jerk, but I'm willing to overlook that. So, he would be my guest of honor. Next person I would want would be Nikola Tesla. Because again, just a brilliant mind. And I would just, I think he would be an amazing conversational companion. I think that, yeah, I would love to meet him. I would love to talk to him. And I feel like he needs a hug. I don't know if he'd let me hug him, but I would want to. And then I would want Edgar Allan Poe, because I would want to show him how his works have lived on, how they've moved so many people, and how powerful they've been to people. And I think he needs a hug too. And I would love to talk to him. Crowley could probably use a hug too, honestly. And along that theme, I would want one more guest because, and I swear this isn't pandering, but, and I don't know him personally, but Simon of the Hermit's Cave, I would love to have, because he has such a warm, gentle, loving energy, and it would definitely be a great counterbalance with Crowley and Tesla, and probably Poe too. And he just comes across as such a dear, sweet man. And yeah, it's just a wonderful energy. And honestly, in his video, and he talked about losing his mom, and I just wanted to give him a hug. So that clearly is a theme that I have going on, and I just want to hug everybody. But who doesn't need a hug? I guess I do. But yeah, I would love to have Simon. And again, I don't know him personally. Maybe, turns off the video and goes around kicking puppies and kittens, but I don't think so. I think he's pretty genuine, and he certainly comes across that way. And again, his energy is fabulous. So if you haven't seen his videos, I can't imagine if you're here you haven't seen him. But if you haven't, definitely check him out, because he is fabulous. And with that, I think we are at the end. But don't go anywhere, because we have another giveaway. So if you're new here, if you haven't seen, if you're not aware, I am giving away about 10 tarot decks. I've done drawings for 3, and I actually just mailed them yesterday. So I'll leave a link below, but basically it started with a video I did about tarot and oracle decks leaving my collection. So this is the 3rd one, and it's the Reigning Rouge Tarot. And it's a deck that basically just didn't work for me, right? Love the colors, the artwork's lovely. I'm just not a fan of animals dressed up like people. It turns me off. It's just my personal thing. I guess it's not really a pet peeve. I just don't like it. But yeah. So I'd really love to give this deck to someone who will appreciate it and work with it, because it deserves that. It is beautiful and lovely, and it deserves someone who will appreciate it. So that's what we're doing. Now, like I said, this is only the 3rd deck out of about 10 that will be given away. So if you're new, if you haven't seen these and you want to participate, go back, watch the one that I linked about the Oracle Tarot decks leaving my collection. And then if you watch from the videos after that, at the end of each video until I run out of the decks, I have the giveaway opportunities, how you can participate. Basically, you just need to like, subscribe. If you share a video, you get 2 entries. And I'll tell you something to put in the comments so I know that you're interested. I will ship anywhere, doesn't matter, as long as your country will accept mail from my country in the US. I'm happy to send it to you. So now, that took forever, but let's draw. So this is for the Reigning Rouge, and we have Annette Hermanson. So Annette, I am going to reply to your comment in the video that featured that deck to let you know that you won. You can respond there, or you can respond in this video, and basically I'll give you some instructions on how to send me your information so I can send you the deck. So congratulations, Annette. Give you about 2 weeks to respond. I understand sometimes life happens. So if life is happening to you right now, hopefully 2 weeks is sufficient time for you to respond. If I don't hear from you in about 2 weeks, I'll do another drawing for the deck. But so Annette Hermanson, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, you are the winner of the Reigning Rouge. So until next time, just be wonderful to yourself. Be really, really wonderful, because you deserve the best. Only the best. All the best. And that is my wish for you.